For coming. We want to welcome you to the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation and the Palm Beach County School Board Joint Legislative School Board Workshop. We are here this morning to hear from each other. This is not a public hearing. This is a workshop. So we will probably not have time for public comment, but I do want to say that we are always available for your comments. And we're very interested in hearing the public as well. So please feel free to talk to us afterwards or whatever. And at this point, I would like to ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here. And before we get started with delegation introductions and school board introductions, I'd like to welcome some of our elected officials who are here. And I do want to recognize Commissioner Barnett, who'd like to say a few words. You're recognized, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much, Senator Harrell, Representative Casello, the entire delegation. Welcome to Green Acres and to Palm Beach County's 3rd District. It's an honor to host your meeting here in the heart of Palm Beach County. I also want to recognize our Honorable Mayor Joel Flores and City Manager Andrea McHugh. As you conduct your work to bring funding home to Palm Beach County today, please remember our sometimes overlooked and underserved residents and needs of our community, particularly regarding infrastructure, including Green Acres' Swain Boulevard Septic to Sewer Project, the Chickasaw Road Expansion Project, Palm Springs' Sewer Force Main Project, continued support for Palm Beach State College and its Emergency Response Training Program, and funding for the proposed Hispanic Cultural Resource Community Center. You can count on me personally to be of service to you, and my office is always available to answer any questions or provide any information is here today. I have to head to the Government Center right now for a meeting of the Board of County Commissioners, a comp plan hearing, so I can't stay. But I want to thank you again for this opportunity to welcome you to our beautiful little town. It was literally a 4-minute drive for me. I could have walked here this morning. It's a really nice day out today. Thanks again for the opportunity to address you, and I wish you the best of luck in your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we also do have with us Mayor Joel Flores.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, senators, representatives, school board members, thank you so much for making yourself available to our community. On behalf of the city of Green Acres, I just simply want to say thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. We, Green Acres, we are the workforce housing of Palm Beach County. We take great pride in who we are and the people that we represent. As you heard from our commissioner, Green Acres, we have lobbied to get some dollars. Some of the work that you see as you entered is your dollars from the state that came down to help us do septic to sewer. But today, this morning, it's about schools. And to me, schools are very, very important. We have 9 in the city. And you know, it's my goal that you guys continue to do the work, bring dollars down, help them out. Our teachers are foremost to us, and we definitely need to do better for them, and our students should be the sole focus of this morning. So on behalf of the city of Green Acres, I just simply say thank you for the work that you do, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we do have with us also Councilwoman Susie Diaz. Is she here? Well, perhaps not yet. But thank you all for being here. I am delighted to be chair of the delegation at this point. And I'd like to ask our members of the delegation to introduce themselves, say where they're, what district they are, and also introduce their staff. And we'll start over here with Representative Roth.
Thank you, Chair Harrell. I'm looking in the audience. I don't see, oh, there as well. So
I'm Representative Rick Roth, House District 94. My district is easy to describe now. It's from the Martin County line to Southern Boulevard, west of the Turnpike, going all the way out to Arden, and then continuing out and including the Glades, where I am a farmer out in the Glades. I have with me today Will Ponsel. If you wave your hand, Will. He's with me here today. He's my district aide, and also Terry Mitzi. She's having car trouble. She'll be here in a little bit. It's great to be here. Looking forward to having some good conversation with our school board. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have Representative Waldron.
Yes, I'm Catherine Waldron. I'm in District 93, which is Wellington, unincorporated Lake Worth, and Green Acres. I'm happy to be here. I'd also like to recognize my district aide, Roselle Gibbs, right there, who's been great in terms of working on constituent issues. So great to be here.
Thank you. Senator Polsky.
Good morning, everyone. I represent District 30, which all that's left in Palm Beach County is southern Boca Raton, but I live in Palm Beach County and have represented the area for, this is my 6th year, believe it or not, and so I'm very happy to be here. We have a great school board, and I'm looking forward to our discussion. There is Cariana Ingram, just in time, and Shana Cohen, I see you back there. My 2 legislative aides who go to Tallahassee with me, and Robert Mariaja is in the district handling the constituent issues, et cetera.
Senator Berman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I'm Lori Berman. I represent Senate District 26, which is basically Boca del Rey, Boynton, and then it cuts over, takes in Wellington and South Bay and Belglade. I have a big team here today, very excited. I have Brenda Bryant, Courtney Jones, and Sophia Cabej.
Thank you very much. I'm Senator Gail Harrell. I represent District 31. Oh,
Okay.
sorry about that.
You can go ahead. I don't want to stop you.
Senator Gail Harrell, representing District 31, which is the northern part of Palm Beach County, Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard North, and then going west to Military Trail, south on Military to North Lake, on North Lake out west to the Turnpike, and then south on the Turnpike all the way to Southern, and then out to the lake. So very large area of the northern section of Palm Beach County. And delighted to be here. I also represent Martin County and the southern section of St. Lucie County. And you're recognized.
Thank you. My name is State Representative Gervonta Edmonds.
Yes.
I represent District 88, which is Lake Park, Riviera Beach, West Palm Beach, Mangonia Park, and Royal Palm Beach. The school board is definitely my favorite group of elected officials, so I'm excited to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I miss? Oh, Representative Skidmore. Sorry, I'm missing people.
Perfect timing. Good morning. I'm Kelly Skidmore. I represent District 92, which is unincorporated parts of Palm Beach County in Boca Raton, Delray Beach, and Boynton Beach.
And we have Vice Chair Representative Joe Casello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Green Acres. I'm Joe Casello. I represent District 90, and up to a little short time ago, I represented a good part of Green Acres right before the redistricting. My area covers Boynton Beach and Delray Beach. Very easy. I don't have to give you a lot of markers out there to see where it is. Just Boynton Beach, Delray Beach. My staff here today is Brian Bees. He's my district aide here. And back from assignment is Troy Grass, who's my legislative aide up there in Tallahassee. So it's all good to be here, and we look forward to working with our tremendous school board.
And we are jumping around today because people are just popping in. Senator Powell.
Good morning. Somebody said that it couldn't be done. He with a chuckle replied, maybe it couldn't, but he wouldn't be one to say so till they tried. Listen, I am State Senator Bobby Powell Jr., representing Senate District 24 in Palm Beach County, starting, it depends on where you want to start, but we travel and traverse from PGA Boulevard south to Hypoluxo, one of the largest districts and most important districts in Palm Beach County. Here with me this morning is my Chief of Staff, Ms. Diane Andre, Esquire. Please stand and say hello. Thank you, Diane. And I'm very excited to be here with you all this morning. We are going to do some great work together with the school board. Remember this, a life of service is a life that counts. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do apologize, I did not introduce my staff that is with me today. On policy issues, we have Karen Sweeney, there she is, and on budget issues and budget requests, we do have Carrie Lira. So they go with me to Tallahassee, and my local district aide is Ann Boldock, who's holding down the fort in Stewart. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our school board chair and ask you to please introduce yourself and all of the members of our school board who are here. You're recognized, Chairman Frank Barbieri.
Thank you, Senator Harrell. First of all, buongiorno, everyone. I just got back from Italy last night late, so I'm wide awake now because I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning because my body told me it was 9 a.m. So I'm 3 p.m. So anyway, I'm here. I'm not so sure I'll be awake for the school board meeting later today, but I want to thank first of all Mayor Flores for your support of our schools in Green Acres. We are lucky to have so many supporters outside of our own school system that help us be the great district that we are. So we really are appreciative of everything that Green Acres does to help the schools in the city. Before I introduce the board members, I just want to thank you, Senator Harrell, and the legislative delegation for giving us extra time this year. Last year, I caught heck from a lot of the board members when we left the room because they said we didn't get a chance to ask any questions, so you gave us an extra hour this year. So I appreciate the time that you gave us. It's so very important for us to meet with you because it seems like many of the laws that are passed in Tallahassee have a direct effect on the educators in our district, and since we have an A-rated district, we want to make sure that we're prepared for whatever you all want us to do down here in Palm Beach County. We only have one staff member with me and with the other 7 board members, and that's our board clerk, Tony Bellotta, who's sitting back there, that helps us get everything ready when we get here. So I'll start with Mrs. Andrews first, and she's over there. Mrs. Andrews, would you introduce yourself?
And good morning. Whoopsie. And good morning, everyone. Is that better? Oh, my goodness. Good morning, everyone. I'm Marcia Andrews, school board member, District 6. I'm called the Weston Woman. And so I start at West Lake Worth Road in Lantana, all the way through Wellington, a little bit of West Palm Beach, Royal Palm Beach, all the way out to the acreage, all the way to Arden West Lake, all the way out to Pahokee, South Bay, Belglade, the whole west. That's District 6, Palm Beach County School Board.
Vice Chair Brew.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And I just first want to say thank you to the delegation for your advocacy on behalf of our students in our district. My district is District 3, and the easy way to describe it is think Cobra and the Alliance of Delray. I am the west of Military Trail. I cover a little piece of Boca, all of the Alliance of Delray, most of Cobra, and a little bit of Lake Worth west of Military, and a little tiny piece of Green Acres. Thank you.
Mrs. Whitfield.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the delegation and to Green Acres for hosting us today. It's a pleasure to be here, and I am looking forward to talking to you about our legislative priorities and how we can best work together. I know many of us will be at Palm Beach County Days, so we'll also see you there, and hopefully we can continue to work and continue to make this school district the best in the state. My name is Erica Whitfield. I represent District 4 in the eastern part of Palm Beach County. I represent from West Palm Beach downtown all the way down to Delray, all of Palm Beach Island, and west to Military Trail. Thank you so much.
Ms. Ayala.
Good morning, everyone. Alexandria Ayala, and I represent District 2 on the school board, which we're sitting in this morning, representing Palm Springs, Green Acres, parts of the city of West Palm, Cloud Lake, parts of unincorporated Lake Worth, and looking forward to the conversation today. Thank you.
Mrs. McQuinn.
Good morning, Barbara McQuinn. I represent District 1, so the exact opposite, going along the coast from Chair Barbieri. When Mrs. Andrews talked about how far east she comes. I meet her at my western border to the ocean, and I thought, notice she mentioned the lake. I think I need to say the Atlantic Ocean. So, to the ocean. And my southernmost boundary is North Lake Boulevard, north to the Martin County Line Road. And I do want to quickly just go through, I have all these municipalities, and so you'll recognize those more than when I just give those boundaries. So, my southernmost is Lake Park, then Mangonia Park, North Palm Beach Gardens, Juno Beach, Palm Beach Shores, Jupiter Inlet Colony, Jupiter, and Tequesta. Thank you all so very much for being here.
My name is Frank Barbieri. I represent District 5. My district is probably the easiest to explain. I represent the city of Boca and the area geographically west, is referred to as West Boca. So my lines around my district are Clintmore Road, the Everglades on the west, the ocean on the east, and Broward County line on the south. I forgot to also recognize, I know the superintendent, I'm going to ask him next to introduce himself.
We do have one other representative. I do have one more representative. I could introduce herself, Representative Gossett-Seidman.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation today. Peggy Gossett-Seidman, District 91 for the State House. This encapsulates all of Boca Raton, Highland Beach, and the county to 441, the very southwest corner of the county, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So I forgot to introduce, probably most of you know her already, our lobbyist, Rita Solnit. Yes. I'm sure she's met most, if not all of you, and she speaks for us often with all of you. So we appreciate the time that you take with Mrs. Solnit, because she's instrumental to us getting our word to all of you. And I'd like to introduce our great superintendent. I've had 6 since I've been on the school board, and when I leave, he'll be still here with you for another 5 years, which is great for Palm Beach County and is great for our students and staff. Superintendent Michael.
All right, thank you, Chairman Barbieri. That is the plan. I hope to stick around a while. And I'd like to quickly introduce some members of my team. We have with us this morning Mr. Ed Tierney, our Deputy Superintendent, Chief of Schools, Ms. Jamie Wyatt, our Chief of Staff, Ms. Heather Frederick, our Chief Financial Officer, and Ms. Angela Cruz Ledford is back with the media there. She's our Chief of Communications. And joined at the table here this morning, we have Mr. Keith Oswald, our Chief of Equity and Wellness, and our Chief of School Police, Ms. Sarah Mooney. Thanks for being here, team. I do have a kind of a brief presentation, and then there's going to be 2 parts. I'm going to go over kind of what's happening in the district and our legislative priorities, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Oswald and Chief Mooney to talk a little bit about mental health. That was a request made by Senator Harrell, our chair, and we wanted to make sure we honor that and answer any questions you may have. So real quick, you just met our school board. It's a good-looking group of people, as you can see. And some quick facts about the district. You all know us pretty well, but we are a large district. We're 10th in the nation, 5th in Florida, and that's based on an enrollment of, when you include charter school students, we're nearly 190,000 students with over 22,000 full-time employees, operating across 182 schools now, Palm Beach County district-operated schools. We have our own school police force led by Chief Mooney with about 245 officers it's a fully accredited police agency that we've had in place for many years. We pride ourselves in Palm Beach County on our choice programs. We have over 330 choice programs, and that enrollment period for choice, the applications just opened today for any parents out there listening for next school year. So we're proud of our district. We have a mission, which is to educate, affirm, and inspire every student in Palm Beach County, and that starts with our core beliefs. And I'm not going to read these all to you, but just to summarize, we believe in high expectations for both our students and staff. High expectations lead to high performance, and our students always will jump over the bar wherever we set it, so we try to set it high here in Palm Beach County. Some accomplishments that we're proud of. We are an A-rated district. We're one of only 2 A-rated large urban districts, Palm Beach and Miami-Dade. There's 14 A's across Florida of the 67 districts, so that's not an easy thing to attain, and we're very proud of that. We are considered an academically high-performing school district. And just this past year, we picked up an award I think that's pretty special. We were recognized by Cambridge International, which is the body that oversees the ACE program. And ACE is big in Florida, where it's basically rigorous college courses students can take and get college credit. We are recognized as the large district of the year across the entire United States. When we held our graduation ceremonies last May, we had over 1,400 students graduate with an ACE diploma. And what that means is they automatically qualify for a Bright Future Scholarship. So if you think about 1,400 students getting that Bright Future Scholarship, that's worth over $60 million if those students make it all the way through a 4-year college, university. And last year we opened up a new Blue Lake Elementary down in Boca. I'm going to talk later about a couple new schools that came on board this year. We were reaccredited this year by Cognia, and we also picked up a leadership award through that agency. And we also opened up, we continue open, we're now up to 3 Haitian Creole dual language programs. We have about 35 Spanish dual language programs, which are very successful in Palm Beach County. Just moving on a little bit, some things we're working on this year that's new. When we started the school year, we issued every student a universal ID badge, and that badge is functional. It allows them, when they get on the school bus, we scan their badge and we know which children are on the bus. They can use it when they check out at the lunch line, check out a book. It's multi-purpose, and again, it's also part of another layer of safety initiatives that we can recognize who belongs on our campuses, and we expect both our employees and students to wear their badge at all times. We're really focusing on customer service this year, and we have an initiative called Catch the Wave, and that just recognizes that our public school district does not have a monopoly on education. We're in a very competitive environment with charter schools, home education, virtual education, and now also private schools with the universal vouchers. So that's an area of focus. Something I'm proud of, that the school board created a policy recently that formed a superintendent student advisory committee. So we're going into our second year. That group was convened back in January. We just kicked off a new school year with the student advisory committee, and it's part of an ongoing effort to elevate student voice in our schools and in our decision making. And it's really been rewarding to work with our young people. The student voice is articulate, they're eloquent, and they are well informed. And we've brought a variety of issues to them, and they're giving us sound advice back and letting us know what's important to them. One of the things that resonated, that was already kind of on my list, but it validated by the students, was we wanted to get our students out and about in Palm Beach County more. So we're being very deliberate in that, and we're calling it community experiences. When I was a kid, we called them just field trips. They were probably less sophisticated than what we're doing now, but we're getting our kids out and about. And the reason that was important to me was I felt like Florida is very heavy on accountability. We have the high-stakes testing, and that takes a lot of our focus in the school sites. And we even had periods where we would say, look, there's no field trips, we're blacking out this period so that people can focus on preparing for the test. And I want to push back against that, and we've done that through our strategic plan. And so as an example, for this school year, every 5th grader is going to the Kravitz Center for a performance. And so we've got about 12,000 5th graders. We have a great partnership with the Kravitz Center that's helping to make that possible. All of our 7th graders will be out and about somewhere in the great outdoors, picking up a science lesson in nature, where that's Lion Country Safari or the Loggerhead Turtle, Institute. We've got the Murakami Gardens. There's all kinds of things around Palm Beach County that we want our kids to get out and see. We can't take for granted that they're having these experiences, outside of the school day. And I had the chance to go plant mangroves thanks to our county commissioners and their environmental team. We had a group of kids go out and help plant mangroves in Lake Worth Lagoon. And our teachers are very adept at really lining these trips up with state standards, with their curriculum. They can kind of lead up to it for a couple of weeks in the classroom and then really kind of drive home the learning with that hands-on experience. So we're going to keep building on that, and that was something that I heard directly from the students that they wanted to see more of. Safety and security is always top of mind. We've been continuing to add layers of security. One of the new things we did this year was, and you may have heard about this in the news, we rolled out metal detectors in 4 of our largest high schools. And there was some concern about, would we be able to get 3,000 students into school on time passing through a metal detector? And we're working through that. It's gone very well, so well that we are now rolling that out to all of our high schools over the course of this school year. And the equipment's evolved. These metal detectors are, they're just not pure magnetometers. They incorporate artificial intelligence, which helps them kind of zero in on items that don't belong on our campuses. So Chief Mooney's worked really closely with our high school principals. We provide multiple detectors for these large high school campuses so that kids can get to school on time. And we're excited about that. Let's keep rolling here. Okay, so we opened our first new high school in about 19 years this fall. It's Dr. Joaquin Garcia High School, named after a local education advocate that passed away a few years ago. And this school is beautiful. It's state-of-the-art. It's got the latest technology, security. You see it in the picture here. This is part of the sports complex with the Carolina Blue artificial turf field. It's the home of the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs are off to a great start. In their first year here, the girls volleyball team just won the district title. And that's pretty amazing because they don't have a senior class yet. When we open a high school, it's just freshmen through juniors, and then they grow into that senior class because we don't want to move seniors out of their home school, as they're about to wrap up their education. And there's some great programs there. We have business, IT with artificial intelligence, ROTC, Army program, and pre-med. And then that school is located in Western Lake Worth off of Lyons Road. And then our next, I lost my, let me just go old school. Presentation seems to have frozen up a little bit. Let's see. Welcome technical support. But I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the next school. It was a brand new middle school, Western Boynton Middle School. And that school is kind of in the Lyons Boynton Beach Boulevard area. More exactly, it's located on 8655 Joe Abruzzo Avenue. I was a former member of this delegation, so I thought that was kind of cool. But this school, again, beautiful facility, off to a great start. It's got a robotics program, esports, and graphic design, and their financial literacy classroom is pretty cool. It's got stock tickers and market tickers that are real-time live, so you feel like you're walking onto the trading floor, and it's pretty neat. Let's see. All right, we're back in business. Okay, to the main topic here, our legislative priorities. And if I had to sum it up in 2 words, I would say it's about money and it's about freedom. That's what we like to see.
All money.
I'll dig into more detail, but last year, for those of you who are here, you may recall, at the end of my presentation, I held up the book of the Florida School Board rules. And I had a book from 10 years ago and the current book, and it had grown by about 500 pages over that 10-year span. So the Florida school laws are now over 1,400 pages. It's a lot. And if you look at just our last session, and I think this is noteworthy because one of the biggest bills we had last session was HB 1, which brought us universal vouchers. It brought us a little bit of a break on some of the regulations, and it committed to a committee to really study more opportunities to deregulate public schools in an attempt to kind of level the playing field now that we're competing with private schools. And even in that session, it brought us talk of deregulation in HB 1. We had 36 bills passed that impacted our school district. And I got a nice memo from Chancellor Burns recently on October 13th that summarized the 2023 legislative session. And those 36 bills equated to, I don't know if you can see this, it's hard to, I can't even read this, but it's 124 action items that we're required to implement and follow up on. So I just share that as a theme. If we're talking about deregulation, let's try to hold that and keep that in mind as we go through the upcoming session. Oh, and I want to introduce our board member from District 7, Mr. Edwin Ferguson. Mr. Ferguson, would you like to share with the group your territory and which district you represent?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Sorry I'm late. We had a late night trick-or-treating, and my son, it was kind of tough to rouse this morning, but District 7 spans from Riviera Beach, the majority of Riviera Beach, and we kind of meander down into southeast Delray. District 7 has I think we have the largest number of schools amongst the 7 districts. Do I need to give a report on what has happened in District 7 over this last year, Superintendent Burke, or just? let them know what the geography is of the district.
The board members kind of explain the geography in their district.
Okay.
And then we're going to have plenty of time for like conversation and questions and all that.
All right, so that's District 7. Happy that you all are here. Have a great day.
Thank you. So school safety and security remains top of mind for our school district. We are very fortunate in Palm Beach County to have a local referendum that helps us fund many of our security initiatives. We spend about 3 times the state categorical that's provided for safe schools. So one of our ongoing priorities is always to kind of ask the legislature if there's any way they can help kind of close that gap and provide more state funding. Yeah, that's the main point here, and we'll continue to add layers to security as we go on. As Chief Mooney has explained to me, you're never finished. You just keep adding more and more to better prepare yourself. On our students, we would like to see help with mental health care, and we're going to hear from Mr. Oswald a little later about what we're doing in Palm Beach County with mental health. Again, that's an area that the referendum really supports us on, and roughly we spend about 3 times more on mental health initiatives than we get through the state mental health funding. We are busy this year implementing the new threat assessment tool that was approved last year, that was recommended by the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission, and we will have all of our employees trained by January 1st as we implement that new tool. And one of the things we want to just kind of guard against is, we are very supportive of parents' rights, but our board has been clear that they want to be careful and oppose any legislation that would impact students because of their gender identity, religion, race, or ethnicity. All right. Just there's one bill here, on the top bullet here, I want to point something out. So I mentioned the Bright Future Scholarships earlier that students can receive by earning an ACE diploma. There's also other programs that potentially could lead to a Bright Future Scholarship, and there's some inconsistency in the current statute where there's one for Hispanic scholars where they can actually earn the Bright Future Scholarship. But while we also have programs for African American scholars and Indigenous people scholars and for scholars from rural communities, those currently do not translate to a Bright Future Scholarship. So that bullet's very specific about a potential change to statute that we'd like to see that would broaden that eligibility to include all 4 of those kind of specialized degrees. And then that second bullet, the reference Chapter 790 to the zero tolerance statute, what's going on there is, you may have heard about this a little bit in the press, we have zero tolerance in Florida if anybody brings what's perceived to be like a weapon onto campus. And we are very vigilant about that. I mentioned the metal detectors, and we are obligated to expel any student that brings a weapon onto campus. And what we've encountered over the last few years is that kind of inexpensive tasers that you can pick up on Amazon for as low as like $15, tiny little, these small tasers. We're finding, like, typically it's a young lady that has one in their backpack, and we've heard some very kind of emotional stories from the parents that may have even purchased that taser and provided it to their daughter, thinking they were helping keep her safe, and we're obligated to then expel that student. And we're not advocating to say let's allow tasers on campus. We're very clear. We've just put new signage on all our campuses that they are forbidden. But what we're looking for here is if we could maybe change that in the policy to direct the discipline to align with our assessor reporting requirements, that would provide a little bit of flexibility if we run into a hardship case where we feel like expulsion is maybe too severe a punishment, and give the superintendent a little more latitude to exercise discretion in that area. So that's what that second bullet speaks to. Okay, when we come to our teachers and staff, it really, again, kind of boils down to the money. I don't think it's any secret there's a national teacher shortage. We're working really hard today and for the last couple of years to recruit teachers to Palm Beach County, and it's tough. We have a high cost of living here, so compensation is important. And again, our referendum helps us pay our teachers more, but the state is the lion's share of that money. And we're very proud. This year, we were able to offer a 7% average increase to our teacher salaries, which brings our starting salary up to $51,500. Our average teacher in Palm Beach County is making $57,800. And that's before our referendum supplement. So in Palm Beach County, it's kind of nice. With that referendum, we can provide additional compensation based on their experience. So a teacher with 1 year gets an additional $1,000 in their salary. 5 to 9 years, they get $5,000. Anything over 10 years, they get $10,000. So we're doing everything we can to stay competitive. But if there's anything you all can do to bring home more money that we can then quickly pass along to our employees, it would be greatly appreciated. Later today, the board's going to get a workshop on growing our own teachers. And we're really looking within our existing workforce to find employees that may be interested in becoming a teacher and then helping them with their education, because that's just how tough it is to find teachers. On the finance front, again, it's kind of looking for more money. One of the issues we're really carefully trying to monitor is the impact of HB1 with those universal vouchers. We do not have any numbers yet provided by FDOE on the exact impact of that, or really even the estimated impact. Most of the information we're getting is what we read in the newspaper, and we're, at this point, we haven't really been negatively impacted. We're hopeful that the $350 million the legislature set aside will cover the actual number of scholarships granted, but we don't know that yet for certain. And what I'd ask the delegation to keep in mind is that money that was set aside to kind of protect school districts this year was one-time money. So it's important, as these scholarships live on, that each year through the state budget process, that adequate money be put aside to fully cover the cost of scholarships. Otherwise, we run the risk of depleting the funding for our students in our district-operated schools. There's a few other things on the page. I don't want to read all these to you, but I think that was the main point there. One of the things that you all approved last year, it was very helpful, is that you allowed the required local effort to grow with the tax base. And that's the lion's share of school taxes. And it's very helpful when we take advantage of the growth in the market values to bring more revenue into education, and that lessens, that lightens the load for the state in terms of state general revenue that must be put into education, in terms of primarily which would be your state sales tax revenue. So we'd like to see that continue. We got another technology hiccup here. Does that work? There we go. Okay, on the curriculum and accountability front, that first bullet there is we want to make sure our curriculum remains factual and historically accurate, and also that we continue to have the opportunity to provide students with rigorous coursework and allow our students to take nationally standardized tests like the SAT and ACT and all that, so that our students, on a national perspective, are competitive when they're applying to out-of-state universities. And we were fortunate this year that we were able to offer AP Psychology. That was called into question for a little bit there, where we had to, it looked like we weren't going to be able to offer the course because of the College Board and the state kind of at odds over a particular standard within that course that we had offered for decades. But ultimately, we got some good direction from Commissioner Diaz that said, carry on, you can offer that course, and just be careful to teach that one particular section that dealt with gender identity in a basically appropriate manner that would not break the state law. So in Palm Beach County, we are continuing to offer AP Psychology, and we want to be able to continue to offer all those AP courses. Okay, pre-K. This is something, it's a little bit outside our traditional purview of a school district, but our school board recognizes the great importance of this. We fully support that we increase the VPK program in Florida from a half day to a full day. And we know that's going to take money, but we really feel like that's vital if we're going to help get kids reading on grade level by third grade. The earlier we can start and getting them into high-quality pre-K programs, the better. A few miscellaneous items. We now have, charter schools can now be authorized at the state level outside of Palm Beach County, and with that kind of state authority, we'd ask that they take it the whole way, and if the schools that they authorize, if they would also assume the responsibility of the oversight of those schools. Because in the current state, no matter who approves the charter school, once it's in Palm Beach County, our local school board is in charge of basically holding them accountable and oversight and monitoring those schools. And then, the school board members have a tough job. That last bullet, we'd like to see them continue to earn a salary. It's a modest salary, and they put in a lot of hours, and they've done a great job here in Palm Beach County. We have one specific appropriations request, and I would like to thank Senator Berman and Representative Roth for your support here. You've continued to support West Tech, and we've brought West Tech back to life in recent years, really at the urging and with the leadership of Ms. Marcia Andrews, and also the Glades Career Roundtable. This school we're really doing some great things. We have a CDL program where people can get their CDL license, and now we are authorized to be a testing center. So no longer do people that are ready to sit for the exam and do their road test and all that, they don't have to drive 3 hours away to take the test. They can take it right there at West Tech, and that's even going to allow us to bring a little revenue in to help support West Tech. So we've had a few appropriations in the past that have been very helpful. You'll see another one this year that would allow us to continue to kind of build out that facility, and it's serving the community very well. All right, so that was it for the legislative priorities. We're going to have plenty of time later, and I know a lot of those issues I spoke to, and maybe some I might have glossed over, our individual board members are passionate about and could probably help further explain if there's any questions. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to our Chief of Equity and Wellness, Mr. Keith Oswald.
Thank you, Mr. Burke, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for really allowing me to speak about this really critically important topic, addressing students' mental health. And we're very fortunate here in Palm Beach County that we have a school board that really prioritizes the mental health, as well as our superintendent. And we know that when we address students' mental health, that our students are going to thrive academically. So how does our school district go about that? In particular, I want to zero in on students when they're actually in crisis. So we actually have a board policy, 5.20, Students' Health Mental Crisis Response. This speaks to prevention, intervention, and post-vention support. So in prevention is where we're identifying certain staff members to make sure that we are providing training on de-escalation strategies in particular, which also includes our school police force around de-escalation strategies when a student's actually having a crisis. You heard about our ID badges. We also have the suicide crisis response ID phone number on the back of those. The intervention piece is when a student is actually in a crisis and how we respond to those situations. We have what's called a crisis assessment prevention. I think it's closer. It's too close? Okay. All right. A crisis assessment prevention education team that when a student's actually in crisis, a school can call on that we respond to support a school. These are licensed mental health professionals that can actually assess, help de-escalate a situation. We work closely with the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office as well as the county's mobile crisis team to help support, to address that. If a student is unable to be de-escalated, the licensed mental health professionals are able to write out that order to have the student actually transported for a Baker Act. And I'll go over some data in a minute about those. And the post-vention section is really when a student is coming back into a school setting. How do we make sure that they have the supports in place if they were transferred to make sure that they are supported? The policy also speaks to ongoing monitoring. So this is really probably one of the best parts of the policy, is on a monthly basis, we meet with our local partners, the Sheriff's Office, JFK North staff. We have pediatric partners who are part of this. The South Florida Behavioral Health Network is part of this, that we meet on a monthly basis. We look at data. We talk about some of the trends that we are seeing. What are the situations that we see that our students are struggling with, and how do we improve? This is on a monthly basis. It's been quite eye-opening, and when I share some data in a moment, you're going to see some of the trends that are happening here in Palm Beach. So this happens on a regular basis. We have, and you heard Mr. Burke talk about the referendum, a Department of Behavioral and Mental Health that actually addresses a lot of these supports. Another layer of support that we have here in Palm Beach County is our co-located agencies. So these are actually agencies that exist throughout Palm Beach County. We have agreements with about 35 of those. 10 of them go above and beyond. We actually pay them to provide free support. They're full-time on the school campus to provide support for our students. One of the barriers that we wanted to remove is that when you refer a student out to go for support for mental health is that we can only hope that a parent actually takes them. By having them actually on the campus, it builds the trust and they become part of the school community. And it's on 115 of our campuses. Also, the behavioral health professionals, this is a piece that we added on every single one of our school campuses thanks to the referendum. And this department actually supports that. In addition, the school-based mental health teams. So now with the referendum, you have not traditionally what you have known as a school psychologist and school counselors. Now we have co-located agencies. We have mental behavioral health professionals. How do we work together to make sure that we're triaging the supports? Because we've been messaging that it's okay to be okay, it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. And clearly, in a minute, when you see some of the data, our students are reaching out and asking for the support. So here, and speaking of the data, so our co-located agencies, this is the first data point I want to point out. They're on 115 of our school campuses. They've logged in last year over 3,200 students that provided ongoing free mental health support by licensed mental health professionals. This is over 33,000 individual counseling sessions. So really thankful for the partners that we have in Palm Beach that step up to do this. Our behavioral health professionals, over 20,000 students supported last year through this resource. And our crisis assessment prevention education team, the CAPE team. So here you'll see those are the individuals that go out when the student's actually in the crisis, right, to de-escalate. So they've been supported last year with 486 students at 135 of our schools. And you can see some of the data that's going on for this particular school year where they're going out supporting our students. So one of the legislative changes a couple years ago was to actually report how many students were transported for involuntary evaluation from our school centers. So if we come to the position where we're unable to de-escalate a situation and the students in need of additional support to be transferred, this is our data. So you'll see last year it ranges from as low as 3 to 21 in the month of January of students on a school campuses that are transferred. So we work closely with our school police department when that occurs to transfer those students. But what I really want to show you in this data point here is that when you look at the trends of what's actually happening in the community over the course of a month, so in these monthly meetings that I mentioned to you earlier, I'll just point out in the month of August of 2022, even though only 3 students were transferred from school centers, there was actually 94 students admitted into JFK. So these are youth under the age of 18, school-age students that were actually admitted. And you can see the numbers range up to 159. So outside of school hours, there's a lot of students that are experiencing some situations where they're being transferred to our JFK. In particular, in August, when we looked at August of 2023, just recently, that number had jumped to 150. So it went up almost a third. So clearly there's some challenges that we're seeing. And when we look at our suicide risk assessments, one of the trainings that we do, typically what we're seeing from our students, that family complications is really probably the top of the list of the challenges that we're seeing. Anxiety and depression is definitely at an all-time high, similar to the trends that we see nationally. It's playing out here for our students as well. There was new legislation also last year, you may have recalled, Youth Mental Health First Aid. It's a training that's required for all school-based employees. I'm proud to announce that last year we trained 91.8% of our school-based staff in this Youth Mental Health First Aid. So that's everyone from your cafeteria workers, your custodians, your teachers, your educators. So we're working as we have attrition to keep that number up. It was well received, especially from our non-instructional staff that really found it very useful and really helpful, not only for them in their professional work, but also in their home life, because everybody's dealing with some mental health challenges in their families. And lastly, I really want to speak to the funding piece that was requested. So Mr. Burke talked about our school police department, that it costs about $39.5 million to run our police department. The allocation, the Safe Schools allocation is $11.3 million. So again, about a third of those costs. So thank goodness with our referendum here that was well supported by the voters here in Palm Beach County, we're able to supplement that to get to the entire cost that is needed. The mental health assistance allocation, so that comes to the $7.4 $7.4 million that we receive annually. And when you look at all of what we provided, so in addition to some of those items I mentioned, the referendum provided additional school counselors as well as school psychologists, the department, and that total cost is about $23.8 million. Again, so that's about a third of what's allocated through the mental health assistance allocation. Again, to all the voters, thank you for their support on that. We want to provide that data to show you that clearly we're having a return on investment with the funds that are coming in for your school board and school district to operate. So this time I'll turn back over to the superintendent to see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. Chief Mooney, any remarks, any closing comments from you?
No, I just want to say that in regard to the overall safety and security on the campuses, it starts with the kids, obviously, and the partnership that we have with the Office of Safe Schools, and to be able to do the police thing in a mentoring capacity as opposed to just a law enforcement capacity has been outstanding within the district. I come from a municipal police department. We don't always have the time to invest in the kids out in the field, as is evident by some of those numbers. And it's been a great opportunity to see how it works in the district, and if we can expand that out into the field, I think that would be very beneficial for everybody in Palm Beach County.
Thank you, Chief Mooney. You know, I had the pleasure this summer, Sheriff Bob Galtieri, the chairman of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission, presented to all the Florida school superintendents. And his point this summer was, you know, all the different things we've done for school safety, whether it's the school police officer, school guardian, the single point of entry, all of that. He really said the mental health supports and the assessing the potential mental health threats is the most important thing, and the thing that's going to really go the furthest in keeping our schools safe. And I thought that was pretty significant to hear that from a career law enforcement, you know, highly respected sheriff. So thanks for that presentation. I know we covered a lot with our legislative priorities. There is in your packet, there's a one-page document. It's two-sided, but this really summarizes all of the board's priorities. And then if this is too much to carry around, just remember money and freedom. and with that, I'll turn it back to Chairman Barbieri.
Chairman Harrell.
Thank you very much, and we certainly appreciate the presentations. I know I have quite a few questions. I know various members do have questions as well, and I'd like to remind our members, if you have a question or would like to make a comment, just raise your card, please, so I can see who wants to make a comment. And we'll go ahead and start with Senator Berman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that very thorough presentation. And I'm so excited to hear about all the things you're doing, especially on the mental health field, because that's been something I've been working on, and I was a big advocate of mental health first aid very early. So great to see that you're doing the program for over 90% of the people. I know we had talked at one point about one of the things that happened last year in conjunction with HB1 was that they said they were going to give public schools more freedom in certain respects. And I am on the Education Committee, and we are meeting on Tuesday to discuss that exact issue. So if you have some things that you'd like me to bring up on Tuesday, I'm happy to bring them up. Or, you know, if you want to think about it and get in touch with me before Tuesday, that's fine also. But I really want to advocate. So what it basically will allow the district some flexibility. And I want to continue to advocate for Palm Beach County and whatever needs to be done on that issue.
Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate that. And we did submit, like we participated in a survey and submitted our kind of request to DOE, but we'd be happy to share that information, and I'll try to highlight the ones that I feel are most critical.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Polsky, you had a question.
Yes, thank you. Let me just start by saying I represent two counties, our fair county to the south. I love them all, but you guys have full attendance on the board. I've had two of these the last 2 years in Broward County. Never had full attendance of the board members, so I thank you all so very much for being here and how important it is. The other thing that you guys, among many things that you guys do so well, having the school resource officers in your own police force, so to speak. Broward is struggling with that decision. They don't know how to fund it, and you know it's very tough for them. I had the honor and misery of going through Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School tour. They are now closed, but I was able to go. I do represent Parkland. I was able to go. It was, truly one of the most horrifying experiences, and, this is 5 years after the fact. So I just wanted to compliment you all for, the great work that you do with regard to safety and how, so many other folks are, struggling to figure it out. There were people visiting from all over the state and other parts of the country. And so, I just wanted to give you all the props for everything you're doing in that regard. And I know you do so much more than we even know, how many weapons are confiscated and how many close calls are averted. So I really appreciate that. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. One, kind of related to what Senator Berman was talking about. We received an email about a month ago or so from President Pasadoma's office asking for input on the school deregulation issue, and I guess they were looking for expertise. So I'm wondering if any of you have had the opportunity to provide that feedback, because I think they're open to hearing it. And yes, in committee last year, the sponsor of HB1 swore they were going to do deregulation, and of course, I thought they should have done it last year, and the bill was just not ready yet. If they couldn't complete it, it shouldn't have been passed, but they did it anyway, and now they're going to try to clean some of that up. So, to the extent there's things that we can pass along or you can pass along directly, I think there might have been a survey form or some way. So if, I don't know if you want to respond to that, if information has been passed for that bill.
Yes. So, now that we're competing with private schools that have virtually, very little regulation, right? There's potentially a very long list, and we've submitted a lot of suggestions, and I've worked with the Superintendent's FADS Association, to compile some of those recommendations. So it's a long list. And it's also a delicate kind of balance, because I think some of the regulation that we abide by is what makes public schools great. And we say you're your best choice, and part of that's because we have certified teachers. Right. We have principals that have advanced degrees in educational leadership. We have transparency with our curriculum. We're held to the state standards. We have robust accountability to where you can see how your students are doing now 3 times a year through progress monitoring testing. So we're not suggesting to throw everything out, but we're looking for things like last year the legislature made a big point to roll a lot of our categorical funding into the base student allocation. And I believe, so that kind of simplified our funding formula. I believe some of that was to kind of also support this transition to vouchers, so that the private schools are getting their fair share. But while that money was rolled into the base student allocation, it did not remove all the tracking and accounting and reporting that's required of us. So we are still doing a lot of extra kind of paperwork to break down those funds internally and let the state know this is how we're spending our reading funds or mental health funds, and you name it. So it's such a broad question. I would like kind of the opportunity, I think, to go back and maybe scale our list down a little bit and provide that to the local delegation. But really, that's what we're going to look for things. The accountability, we talked about concordance scores last year, and we got a little reprieve from the concordance scores, which was appreciated, but also when that was done, it solidified the higher level of concordance scores for the class of 2024. So you could have a student in Palm Beach County schools that may struggle to graduate because they're trying to reach, to satisfy all the requirements. If they transfer to a private school, they could easily graduate without those requirements. And it's those type of things I think we need to look at. Again, you could take it as far as our instructional materials, our textbooks. We buy textbooks based on the state-adopted textbook list. Private schools can put in whatever curriculum they want. And it's kind of that, again, it's that balancing act about, well, what do we really kind of hold dear to say this is what makes this a great choice versus where can we just kind of remove some of the administrative bureaucracy that's slowing us down?
I would suggest that you give us a very detailed list, and if you can perhaps, provide that to us as a delegation, we can make sure. I sit on the Education Appropriations Committee as well when it comes to funding, so we really would like a, pretty detailed summary, and I'm happy to submit, as I'm sure other senators are happy to submit these kinds of things, and representatives as well, so that we very carefully do this as we deregulate. There are needs to have some regulation,
Right,
certainly.
right.
But we want to make it accountable, but very practical. I think that's the key.
Okay, I welcome the opportunity.
Did you
We'll
have
be sure to
another
do that.
question, Senator Polsky?
Yes, and I think it's great that they're seeking input, so we're happy to provide that. And also, I guess the sooner the better, because that bill will be in formation right now.
It is.
Yeah, but that's not a special session bill.
No, but it's regular committee.
Oh, you have that, okay.
We're hearing it Tuesday.
Okay, we'll get to you hopefully by Friday, Monday latest.
So another issue I wanted to bring up, there's a bill in the House, HB 49, which seeks to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to have fewer work restrictions. And, it's very concerning to us that it might take some lower-income students, out of the school system and, be very challenging for them to graduate if they're working too much, because they are allowed to. I don't know what the impetus for this bill was. It's Representative Cheney. I don't really know her. There's no Senate companion that I saw online. So I guess I would ask two questions. One, what is the school board's position on that? And two, ask my Republican colleagues if if this thing has legs, or where it came from, or if there's going to be a Senate companion. If there's not, we don't really have to worry about it. But it's sitting out there in the ether right now.
Right. Yes, we're familiar with it. The school board did not take a position on it as of yet. They can always do that as things progress. At first glance, it raises some concerns about, we're working to try to keep kids in school. But I would like to study it more. Just a quick personal story. My dad was the oldest of 5 kids. He lost his father when he was 11 years old. And so he kind of went to work. And then at age 17, he joined the Army and got his GED. And, because he did it out of necessity as a sports family. So I kind of want to really dig into it a little more and see what the true impact is on our students. And, we also have to be, part of customer service is meeting our students where they are. And if we have to maybe retailer how we provide services to them, whether it be through night school or different things, we might need to look into that. So at this point, I'd say we're still kind of studying it, and I welcome my school board members if they want to jump in on that one.
And just one final quick note. I wanted to let you know about a bill I'm working on that I think will be helpful to all of you and would love your support when you're kind of meeting with folks. It's Senate Bill 164, and it's to provide a scholarship program for mental health counselors who work in public service. And we believe we have included school psychologists in that. It's a little tricky as to how we phrase it and then which agency runs it because of that aspect, but we do believe that it will potentially provide more mental health counselors to the school or agencies that help the schools, public agencies. So it's 164. I have a House companion in Rep. Cassell, and so would love your support with that, because I think it's very important for the schools.
Yeah, we support that wholeheartedly. Mr. Oswald mentioned we have co-located therapists in 115 campuses. That takes about 35 agencies to cover those schools, and it's a challenge. Just like finding teachers is a challenge, anything that would bring more mental health workers to our schools, because we're seeing the need grow, and not just in our school district, but I sit on the Children's Service Council, and they shared some statistics recently that said we had gone from basically 20-some% of kids expressing mental health concerns to over 40% in one survey. So the need is there.
Thank you. Representative Skidmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to also thank the school board of Palm Beach County. My personal experience with my daughter was stellar, and recently with my niece who had an issue with a charter school, I just want to thank Vice Chair Brill and the superintendent for helping my family through some of the challenges that we had with her. I have 3 questions. I'm interested in the age range of the 113 students who were transferred for evaluations. I feel that there's a lot of anecdotal information that younger and younger students are struggling with mental health, and it's not just teenagers who we're talking about. And just want to know if there's a age-appropriate interventions that happen with the younger students. I know we've all heard of those horror stories where 5-year-olds were handcuffed and taken away, and not in Palm Beach County, but just want to make sure that we're being sensitive to that, so curious about the age ranges.
Mr. Oswald, could you help me with that?
Yes, so I can definitely provide you as a follow-up, this specific, because we do break down by ages, by race, gender, ethnicity, so I can follow that up. The majority of our students tend to be the upper middle school to high school, but we definitely have elementary students as well, not as frequently. And as far as the training, we do work with age-appropriate training with our staff, dealing with former elementary and a high school principal. There's definitely differences and how you de-escalate a situation like that and the type of supports. Our staff is also trained and identifies, with students with disabilities. There's a priority of Ms. Brill to make sure that they're getting training so that it's not, if it's a disability, that we're not Baker-acting a student because of that type of a situation, that it's truly a mental health crisis situation.
And as a follow-up to that, I would like to ask perhaps our police department on how what kinds of training their personnel have in the de-escalation process and the transport of especially younger children. We've heard horrendous stories, we've seen articles in the newspapers, and we know the current lawsuit with the Palm Beach County School District. So we're very concerned about that and wanted really to hear what training the individuals in the school district police force have.
Our officers come from a variety of backgrounds, which is good and bad. But when they get into the school district itself, we do training in conjunction with our Office of Safe Schools, so that we're working with the mental health providers and trainers to actually get our officers the same training that some of the staff in the schools is getting. So we start at that level, but when it comes to the de-escalation and the physical de-escalation and that type of thing, we follow what's called ICAT. It's a new program that is out of the Police Executive Research Forum, and it starts from the communication all the way down to where you would go to handcuffing, but our strategy is not to handle it as a law enforcement situation. We want to work hand in hand with our mental health providers that are right there on the campus. We have teams of mental health intervention professionals that are working together to make sure that we are minimizing those opportunities to misstep. We're trying to avoid that, and we're learning from our past with some of the things that came out in the lawsuit itself. I think that we have done a really good job of reassessing how we do things, and again, trying to retrain those that maybe came from a municipality that had a little bit of a different version of how they do things, because it's 1, 2, 3, you get it done, and you go on to the next thing. Here we take a little bit more time. We take the opportunity. We have the environment that we can do the de-escalation in, but it's going to be individual and it's ongoing. We do training all year long, especially during the summertime. We're fortunate now. We've got about half of our police force is full-time 12 months out of the year, so any of those times when school is out, we're doing training, and the de-escalation part is always going to be involved in that annually.
Thank you.
Can I just add also, when we got the lawsuit served on us and this was a big issue in the news and all that, I toured the JFK North facility, which is the sole location where youths are transported to for that evaluation. And what I was kind of checking on is, are we sending students here for like frivolous reasons, right? And what I found was that was not the case. Of the students that we do transport, the vast majority are admitted, and they are in crisis and they are in need. So I was able to meet with the staff there at the facility, and so because there was a concern, are we over-exercising this? Are we sending kids that don't need it? And that's not what we found. And the stakes are incredibly high. If we err on the side of being, if we hold back and do not admit kids that are in crisis, it could be a devastating, tragic outcome. With suicide on the rise and all of that. So. The lawsuit, I think part of that lawsuit was we've been very transparent with our data in Palm Beach County, where other school districts had not published as much information about the number of kids impacted and the ages and all of that. So our transparency also kind of made us more susceptible to the legal challenge.
Thank you very much. Representative Skint, you wanted to follow up, yes?
Thank you,
And then we'll go to Representative Edmonds.
On the slide that had the list of suicide risks, we didn't spend a lot of time, so I didn't see it. I'm wondering where pregnancy falls and what the pregnancy rates are for the school board. That's usually something that's part of our discussion. I didn't see it today. It's obviously a concern for me based on the abortion laws that we are passing in the state of Florida. So I'm curious about where pregnancy falls. Is that a family complication? And what the pregnancy rates are in Palm Beach County schools.
You recognized.
So it would definitely fall under family complications. I can work to disaggregate that more so that we can follow up with that. We do have a teen parent program to support our teen parent programs. Again, I don't have that data with me, but I can follow up to provide exactly how many students we are supporting through that program. We don't actually collect data of every student who's pregnant. It's any teen who enters this program, we do identify there, and I can send you those numbers.
Follow up to that question?
To that question, yes.
Yeah,
I want to
thank you.
make sure we have other members
So
do have
not
questions.
every pregnancy is identified, only the students who are pregnant and who go through the program? Is that what you said?
If they're so if a student is identified, we offer that support, and then we would record that pregnancy. We don't have a flag for students who are pregnant that don't enter the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Edmonds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I just want to congratulate our school board for their recent accomplishment, increasing teachers' pay by 7% and giving them a one-time bonus. That's huge. I believe Palm Beach County is one of the highest paying districts for teachers' pay. And we know in the state of Florida, we actually rank 48 out of 50 in teachers' pay. So I just want to commend you all on that excellent decision. So I have a couple comments and then a couple questions. So I do ask for your support on some of the legislation that we are putting forth this upcoming session. Me and State Senator Lori Berman, we are trying to increase teachers' pay again from that $51,000 that you all put forth to $65,000 for all teachers, including veteran teachers would get an increase in their salary as well. Also, School Board Member Edwin Ferguson gave us a piece of legislation that you all highlighted in the beginning of your presentation. Me and State Senator Bobby Powell will be putting forth that legislation, opening up the National Hispanic Recognition Program, allowing more students to be eligible for the Florida Academic Scholars Award and the Medallion Scholars Award. With some research, we found out if legislation is passed, up to 6,800 students will now be eligible to receive the Florida Medallion Scholarship Award and the Florida Academic Scholars Award. So we hope that you will support that. That would be House Bill 13 and House Bill 25. And last but not least, my question, again, you all are doing a phenomenal job, but my question is about homelessness. As we continue to have an insurance crisis, an affordable housing crisis, what are we doing to help the students who are homeless in our school district?
Yeah, it's a major issue. I know it's a priority for Board Member Whitfield and something that also falls in Mr. Oswald's domain under student wellness. But so, Mr. Oswald, would you like to respond?
Sure. Last year, we identified approximately over 6,000 students who identify as homeless. Currently, this year, we're already over 4,000. So the numbers are definitely going up. And we provide support in a number. So one, we identify through a questionnaire that we send out every year, and we work to collect those ongoing. The supports that we provide, we have a collaborative that is happening with a number of different providers in our community that meet on a monthly basis to talk about the supports they provide. So for example, Adopt a Family is part of that process, and Ms. Whitfield knows them very well. And they provide support from everywhere. If a family needs housing for the night, just for supports, so we get vouchers out to help get housing for those type of supports. In addition, we provide everything from school uniforms, clothing, food. In addition, ongoing tutoring, so if students need additional tutoring and supports, we also provide that. I think the biggest piece and the leverage we are doing is the collaboration of different agencies coming together so that everybody knows who's offering what, so that we can provide those supports and when they're needed. So it's often that we'll have a family, they'll call up, they're living out of a car and they need support, so that we work to provide them shelter.
Thank you very much.
Follow-up.
Just follow-up.
Mrs. Whitfield would like
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Wait, we have someone, one of the school board members would like to comment?
Yes, thank you. This is a huge passion project for me, so I just can't hold back and put it in my comments for later. But I just want to say this is a very, very real issue in Palm Beach County. The numbers are exponentially growing, and just to really give context, we do count 6,000 students in the homeless situation, but just to make it so it's very real for you, last night over 100 kids slept outside in Palm Beach County. So if you think about what that means for a family when you have nowhere to go and you are in a car, you're in a park, and you're just trying to get through. Also, the need for food has gone up so much, and for these families to be able to get by, and we're talking little kids not having food. So we do a lot in Palm Beach County to send food home on the weekends. That's a big thing that we work on, is creating these backpack programs. So we send bags of food home. We try to be cognizant when we send it to homeless families that they don't have a way to cook. So we're creating backpacks that can be eaten without needing to be cooked. But there's a lot of people in the community working towards this. It's a lot of people in the nonprofit realm that are doing this. But within our program, we actually do have liaisons that go out and case manage with our students and try to figure out what it is they need. And I think, we really could use additional supports. After we got all of the funding through COVID, that was a big boost for us. We had some additional funds. Those are all going away now. And so I think additional positions, people to support, and funding for those immediate needs for these students to make sure that they have everything. We have mandates from the state that tell us we have to support the students, but the funding isn't there to match. And so they should be getting every support to make sure their lives are just like a student who has a home and a safe place to go every night. But sometimes we fall short of that. And so I think additional funding for homeless students would be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I think, I don't know if Palm Beach County has a family promise program through churches, but that's a very active program in other counties that really focuses on families with children. So,
Follow-up, really quick.
quick follow-up. I want to get to everybody. We've got
Understood.
lots of cards up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. I do want to just take a moment to recognize Jamie Wyatt for her amazing work. I want to say that she has sent me a video promoting our school district that I will be sending to all of our members to promote. We have over 300 innovative choice programs, and we have a phenomenal adult education program as well. I myself have taken a Spanish class. I didn't do so well, but it was still a phenomenal course. Last but not least, that pre-K initiative that you all have, if I can support that in any way, shape, or form, please just let me know. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And before we go on to our next question, I do want to say on the Bright Futures, is that your bill, Senator Powell, Bright Futures bill?
Yes, with Rep.
Me and Senator Powell.
It's the two of you. Okay, I have an addition to put on that.
Love that.
For children who are dyslexic or have dyscalculia, who perform very, very well, except in that one little area. So want to add that to you.
I would love to have your support, Senator.
We
Thank you.
we will talk to you later. Okay. Representative Costello, I think you had yours up next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to the board and administration. It takes a team to get these things done that we're talking about. One of the things, Senator Harrell, that you and I ran a bill last year, Teachers Within, would have let the professionals in the system and staff have a pathway to become teachers. I was proud that you've always been an advocate for education, so we thank you for that. One question is maybe direct this to the chief. You had mentioned training. Now, is the training the same for all levels, like for the elementary student, the middle school student, and the high school student? Is that training, or is it specific to that age group?
The basic standard is the same. However, in working with our Safe Schools trainers, they do age appropriate. So if we've got officers that are working in an elementary school, certainly they're going to handle things a little bit differently than with the high school students. So
Great.
yes, we do age appropriate training so that we get down to the basics. And some of that youth mental health first aid also has a section in there that has the age appropriateness. So it's, yeah, we recognize the fact that it's not cookie cutter by any stretch of the imagination, and we practice depending on where they're assigned.
Great. And follow-up, Madam?
Follow-up.
Is there a number you can put on that training for hours, or is it just an ongoing process?
It is ongoing, but I would hesitate to put a number on it exactly. We have some that actually do additional training. We have multiple officers who are actually have gone to school and continue to go to school. We have MSWs on our staff that are actually working in schools. So we try to make sure that we're assigning them to appropriate places too, where we can maximize their skill set too. And we also use them to help with our training and to kind of share their knowledge base with our officers who may not be as inclined to be exposed to some of the training that they've had. So they help with, we're all working together and we're working year round. So it's anytime we have an opportunity to address any of the issues that have to do with either the mental health, de-escalation, all those types of things. It's not all hands-on. I would say about half of the training that we do is more classroom-based and more of the educational piece than it is a hands-on, physical, handcuffing and that kind of thing.
Great. Well, follow up, Madam, just
Follow
real
up.
quick.
Quick.
I can tell you that being on the Board of Trustees at JFK Hospital, as was Senator Berman, they take mental health very serious up there, and they've got a great facility. Just one last question is that when a child has to be Baker Act, what is the procedure? Do you have to call the parents first, or is this something that the parent is notified afterwards?
State law requires that the parents be notified. I did that, Bill.
And that's right from the expert. Thank you.
Yes,
Yes, you are correct. So we notify the parent immediately to get in touch with them, to get their assistance and support. If it comes to a point where it's an emergency situation, we have to transfer a student prior to a parent getting there to the school, we let them know. But yes, and we have to document every single call, emails, if we're unable to reach them, and that's all recorded in a state database that goes up to the Department of Education.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll have Senator Powell, then followed by Representative Waldron. And
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple things. One, I agree with Superintendent Burke. I believe that funding an all-day, high-quality volunteer pre-K program for all would be very helpful in terms of our students here in Palm Beach County. I recognize and realize that if you work on the early childhood education, you really do have a better opportunity for our kids to graduate. And I can tell you, I don't have anybody who's graduated yet, but I know early childhood education for my child has been important. On that same token, I'm hopeful that there's a way we can deal with legislation that allows for teachers who teach pre-kindergarten programs in the school district to have some of the same benefits that teachers who start in kindergarten get, because I think they are essential to the quality of education that our students get. And sometimes because they are teaching pre-K programs, they don't receive the same benefits as teachers who start at the kindergarten level, which can be a disincentive for teachers, professionals who want to teach at that level. Number two, the continuing of allowance of students to access currently available college credit courses and scholastic aptitude tests so that students can remain competitive. I believe that's also important. If there's something that we can do as a delegation, or if there's legislation that's moving forward, I believe that all of us would be encouraged to support that in any way we could. If there's no legislation moving forward, I would be willing to be a catalyst to move legislation forward in that manner. I'm hopeful that we can talk about the proliferation of cell phones and social media on the the mental health of our students. As you indicated, it went from 27% of students dealing with a mental health challenge to more than 40%. 40% of students is a huge number. It's quite frankly astronomical. When you think about that, we're talking about 4 out of 10 or 2 out of 5. That is a tremendous thing to deal with our students in the school district. And these are individuals who will at some point becoming adults, who should be the leaders of the next generation. and we're having a number of issues related to mental health that we really need to grab a hold of. I think cell phones have become a challenge. I've been to some of the schools recently. Kids are not engaged like when I was in school. They're into their phones or into those ear things, earplugs, earbuds. Look,
Earbuds.
I have officially made it to the point where I am no longer young. Earphones, earpods, AirPods. They're tuned out, so we have to re-engage our students. The next one, I didn't want to be, but I guess I sometimes have to be, the one to bring up establishing a process to ensure that all state standards are factual and historically accurate. There has been, I am aware of, and I get emails from PragerU, and I'm not sure if those videos are allowed in our school district, and if they are allowed, if there's a way to outlaw them. I have read some of the emails and seen some of the videos, and not only am I offended, I'm appalled that someone would push this type of propaganda and type of indoctrination upon our students in this type of manner. It's sickening to me, and if I were to find out that my daughter was susceptible to having to view videos from PragerU, I would not. You talk about parents' Bill of Rights or parents' accountability, there would be some real problems. So I just say.
Yeah, I would like to just address that we are not utilizing PragerU in any way in Palm Beach County, and it's blocked on our computer network. Make sure that it's not being, so that there's not a rogue user pushing it through.
Thank you.
Representative Waldron.
Thank you very much for this discussion. And I'm on the Choice and Innovation Subcommittee, Education Subcommittee, and the full committee. I had a couple questions. One is, last year I asked about book banning, and you kind of went through the process, which was very helpful, and kind of said there weren't any books that were banned. But I'm hearing from teachers sort of a different story, and a different story, and I'm wondering if it's semantics. Is it maybe the books are being vetted, but they're not banned, but they've been pulled from the shelves as a result? So I'm just trying to understand whether or not books are being banned or pulled from shelves at all.
Yeah, I'd be happy to respond. So our school board has received one formal challenge to the book, the Bible. The board decided to go ahead and keep the Bible in our high school libraries. I think what you may be hearing is that recent legislation has put a huge burden onto our school media specialists, that they have now received state training, and they are responsible for basically making sure that all instructional materials are compliant with state laws. And so what that means is if a teacher wants to bring in a book that's outside of our normal curriculum, it has to be vetted by the media specialist. And Mr. Tierney and I, myself, have continued to meet with representatives from our media specialists the last few months because they are feeling incredibly stressed and burdened by these new laws. And the stakes are high because there could be a felony charge if they get it wrong. So we've been navigating that. We also had a requirement that all of our school libraries, which was then extended to include our elementary school classroom libraries, which means any collection of books that an elementary school teacher may have in their classroom, all had to be cataloged and inventoried and then posted on the school website so that the parents can have access to see what materials are there. Going through that process, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that's hindered or slowed some teachers down maybe from bringing in books outside of what the district has provided. And in terms of book banning, while there's been no formal ban, there has been a relatively short list of books, and through that review, where we found some materials we felt like were just not appropriate in our libraries, and we have removed a few books, but it's a short list, and we could provide that information to the delegation.
That's very helpful, thank you. And I will say that I talked to a person whose wife is not in this county, but somewhere in Florida, and she's a reading coach. So whenever she chooses to do a book, she has to basically send an email out to almost 800 people, 800 parents, and it's very onerous, as you can imagine. Just two more quick questions. I saw an article this past week about how homeschooling is one of the fastest growing school sector elements in the nation, and I'm wondering if you're seeing that here and if there's any impact.
We have about 6,000 students in Palm Beach County that are homeschooled by their own choice, and haven't seen real significant growth in that. During the pandemic, there was an uptick, and it seems to kind of settle down a little bit.
Thanks. And last question is, I know that we hear a lot about people moving into Florida. I'm seeing a lot of people, because of the cost of living, starting to leave Florida. And are you seeing a plateau of students coming in at all?
We've been fortunate. We grew this year by about 1,000 students, which was our projection. So we were really kind of happy to see that, now that we're competing with private schools and vouchers. And I know that's going to be an ongoing, probably longer-term challenge as maybe more providers move into our market. But our enrollment's strong. We're up 1,000 students, and we continue to grow.
Thank you. And just one comment to Senator Powell's comment about impact of phones. Hopefully the ban on TikTok in the schools has had a positive impact, because I agree with Senator Powell. It's a real problem with the focus and the impact on mental health. So thanks.
Yes, and we have implemented that requirement as of July 1. All social media is banned from our district network.
Thank you. I very much agree with that. Representative Gossett-Seidman, you're next.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, two quick questions. First of all, I sit as the vice chair in the House of kindergarten through 12. And I wondered, along that line, I'm not as familiar with the one note here about increased funding for the programs dedicated to developing teachers. If you could provide a brief synopsis on that.
Yes, that's, in kind of response to this national teacher shortage. The state recently put out a teacher apprenticeship program. So far, that's not having a major impact in Palm Beach County, because our local universities are not abiding by the requirements of that program, or they're not really interested in changing their programs to make that possible. So we are looking locally. We're going to discuss later this afternoon what we call pathways to teaching, where our school board would actually help support employees with some of the cost, and try to remove obstacles from getting their teacher credentials, where they could get credit for the jobs they're doing, on-the-job training, along with some tuition support and that type of thing. So any more funding that the state could provide to support the development of teachers would be welcome. And I think it's just going to become really necessary, because this problem, you have fewer and fewer people entering into the colleges of education. Some universities have closed their colleges of education or threatened to close them. And when I look out as superintendent next 5 or 10 years, I believe that's going to be our greatest challenge.
I will comment on that, too. Last year, Representative Costello and I filed a bill called Growing Teachers from Within, and perhaps we need to have further conversation on filing that bill again, and also perhaps expanding it a bit. So we want to look at how we can practically make that happen. If we need to put some requirements on our state colleges to work with our school districts, if we need to really look very specifically at a funding model. We did it as a pilot program for 5 counties, but I think we might be interested in doing that again. But would love to have further conversations with you on that. Thank you for that question. Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Wondering also, I filed last year successfully an appropriation for caregiving youth, which are defined as students who are actually in charge of younger siblings or even cousins or whatnot, because their parents or their caregivers are either in jail or unhealthy or cannot drive. So I'm wondering if you have any, and this very proudly was founded in my district in Boca Raton, wondered if you have any stats on that or any input on furthering this support for those who take care of their siblings.
Representative, I serve on the board of the American Association of Caregiving Youth, and I'll get you all the statistics, but, we're very active, and I'm proud also that that association was started, not just because it's in my district, but because it was in the state of Florida that Dr. Siskowski started, but I can get you all the information. We meet monthly, and the association is very active. Some of the stories are really heart-tearing because of what these kids go through to, they've got to get their little brothers and sisters up in the morning and get them off to school so they can then give medicine and food to their invalid mother or father. So it's a real challenge for these kids. So we're doing everything we can to support them.
Yes, thank you very much. I think the numbers may be higher than we know. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Roth?
Thank you, Chair Harrell. A couple thoughts. First one is there's been some stuff in the news lately about the bill we passed last year on mapping schools and making it available to emergency services. So that leads me to my question. School safety and obviously what you're doing with mental health, those all go closely hand in hand. I would like to hear what's going on in the area of school hardening. Is there something maybe we can do as a state to help with that issue? Public safety is a key issue. That's my first question.
Yeah, it's an ongoing effort. We've done a lot of work to have single points of entry. We've provided more security surveillance cameras. We've provided more card access door locks where you need an ID badge to swipe to get through those doorways. We've got ongoing fencing projects. This year, our school board approved funding to put window tint on our windows that are not impact windows, so that it basically gives them the strength of an impact window to help prevent bullets from going through the window. What else, Chief Mooney? There's a lot of work going on. We do that through our capital budget. We're fortunate in Palm Beach County that we partner as part of a sales tax levy with the local government infrastructure surtax that's provided a lot of the funding support for that work. So we feel like we're kind of ahead of the curve in Palm Beach County, that we're constantly trying to add on, again, like that next layer of security. This year, our school board approved funding for guard houses at all of our high schools, so that we have, typically if you pull up to one of our high schools, you'll see a campus monitor out in the parking lot that's kind of checking people as they enter into the campus. And so they've been standing out in the elements for a few years, and these guardhouses will give them some shelter. But that's something, if it works well at the high school, we'd like to expand down to middle and potentially elementary school someday. So there's a long list of projects potentially that we could use funding for. And if there was any dedicated funding to school hardening, we would have no trouble spending it.
Did you have a follow-up?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Also, Superintendent Burke, you gave a report, I think at the L School last year when we met, that you were at least considering or being willing to implement the school guardian program. Could you give us an update on that, please?
Yes, sir. So we've really forged a strong relationship with Sheriff Bradshaw, and thanks to Chief Mooney, and we have ongoing collaboration. Part of that was this past summer, we sent 2 of our employees through the Guardian training program. One of them's in the room, Mr. Ed Tierney there, former Marine, felt like he was a good candidate because that training is very rigorous. It's 180 hours, so just think of 180 hours, that's a pretty good time commitment. And the firearms training is very rigorous. And so we had 2 people go through, also an assistant principal, and they both made it through the training. At this point, we now, that was really just a kind of a test to get more familiar with the program, get some, see how the training stacks up. We walked away very impressed by the training. The bigger challenge, if this is, at this point, it's not something the school board has really endorsed, that we don't really have a plan to expand on it and start adding guardians to our schools. Our focus continues to be to expand our school police force. Because one of the things we found from that training is that if you're a guardian, and let's say your day job is assistant principal, it's kind of hard you have to almost give up some of your duties as an assistant principal to serve as a guardian. Because if an assistant principal is a guardian and carrying a weapon, one of the things they have to do is sometimes intervene in student scuffles, that type of thing. if they have a weapon on them, they would not be able to basically break up a fight or anything like that out of fear that someone might, take their weapon off of them. So we're still kind of studying the issue. Again, our focus is on our school police department, but we haven't ruled it out. And I would like to just kind of publicly thank Sheriff Bradshaw for providing us with that training and making it available. It's available to our charter schools if they choose to go that route. And it's, at this point, it's something we just kind of continue to keep in our back pocket in case we need it down the road.
Thank you. And before we go to second questions, I do have a few that I'd like to jump in with, too. And since I was the one that specifically asked on the mental health to have that presentation, and I want to thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for that excellent presentation. We do have, I would really like to get at some point and share with everyone a real breakdown of the funding that you get from the school safety bill that's specific to mental health, and what percentage of that actually goes to counseling of students. It's been my understanding that those dollars don't go directly for counseling. It's more in a general pot. And if we could get a breakdown on specifically how much goes to counsel for therapy for students. I know you have a working relationship and a contractual relationship with various providers that do provide counseling. What do you do over the summertime? Because we're hearing a lot of therapists are moving to the school district. Why not? You have summers off, and you have great vacations, and the days are very different than someone who works for somebody like Helping People Succeed or somebody like that. So we're seeing a loss in the provider section to school districts. But we'd like to know what happens during the summertime. What do the counselors or your personnel in school do? Do they continue to see students during the summer?
So in the summertime, some of our staff, our behavioral health professionals, have a longer contract, so they're able to continue to provide support. Our co-located therapists, who are the outside agencies, are able to carry those students. Those are the students who need the most intense support. And so fortunately, because of the rich number of agencies here in Palm Beach, we're able to carry that forward. If there's a situation where they're not being covered by an agency, we work to make sure there's a plan in place to support those students throughout the summer months.
Do they receive counseling during the summer months?
If it's through the agency, yes. Our district staff, it will be through, when they are on contract, the behavioral health professionals work an additional 2 weeks to help support that piece, but we work for the direct counseling through our co-located agencies.
So the co-located agencies, do they provide the counseling then on campus, or do they do it?
Yes.
So they do it.
Not in the summer months, they'll work through their agency.
Okay. Also, I do have several other questions on the funding. If you can get us that breakdown, that is very, we're looking very carefully at that. And then, on the training, the mental health training of the police force, that has been an issue, and I'm so glad to hear that they do get significant training. If you can get us some further detail on that. We are very concerned. We've heard a lot from parents who are concerned, to make sure that that de-escalation does happen, and that there's that, whether it's your local counselors who work with the police force and how you do that. Could we have a little bit more detail on what the process is?
I just want to add a little bit in regard to our comprehensive approach to how we deal with the escalation. It's not just the officers, and typically it's not the officer first. We've got teams on the campuses, and our officers are just one piece of that team. So there's a minimum of 4 or 5 people that are going to respond to a kid in crisis, and our officer is not there to be the muscle there. They're there to be the support mechanism there, and usually we're the last ones to step in. However, we get the same training as everybody else that's on that support team. So the new Florida model, we're all going through that training. Our officers are going through that like everybody else that's on that crisis response team on the campuses. So we're fortunate that we're working in conjunction with the other members of that team, but it's very rare that our officers are working independently on a campus with a kid in crisis. There's always going to be other support mechanisms around.
Thank you.
And I want to, that's why we put the crisis assessment team in there, because those are licensed mental health professionals to go out in our monthly meetings, working with the Sheriff's Office, Behavioral Health Unit in particular, as well as the mobile crisis response. We talk a lot about the de-escalation piece. And also in comparison to other large school districts, the number I showed you, we had 113 last year, similar to the year prior. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission, they actually looked at the numbers by district. We were the lowest of the large urban school districts by far of number of students who were actually transported from a school center. The next district was probably about 180 of similar size.
I think one of your school board members.
Yeah, we want to make sure all the school board members, because I've got several who want to speak, but.
Mr. Barbieri, this is specific to that question.
Can you just hold?
It's quick, about the,
Let me do this, Ms. McQuinn. We're going to start shortly, just going over to school board members, and I've got you first on the list. So if any of you have comments you want to make about anything that's been said, note them on your pads there, and as soon as I start calling, you can.
Okay, I think every member had a chance to ask at least one question. We may have raised additional questions, but perhaps you might have some additional time at the end to come back and do a second bite at the apple for members to ask additional questions. But certainly the mental health aspect is very, very important to most of us. We've all lived through Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. We don't want a repetition of that.
All right, Mrs. McQuinn, why don't you go ahead, since it's on mental health. Go ahead.
our administrators, and I'm speaking specifically to high school where we can be high energy, administrators are always the ones who respond to an emergency, whether it be a fight or whatever. Usually our police officers, they just follow behind, and they only step in if there's a life-threatening situation or unless the administrator says, I need your help. So they're there, but they're not the first ones to take any action. And I think every one of our school administrators follows that.
Thank you.
So I've got other.
Yes.
So Mrs. Andrews, then Mrs. Whitfield, and Vice Chair Breaux.
Yes, first of all, I want to thank our legislative delegation for all the great work you do and how you have been responsive to us when we've called you to ask you to support many of our issues. But I wanted to go back to thank our lobbyists, Rita Solnet, as well as Mr. Keith Oswald. You know, we know that mental health is a big deal, and it's really just growing by leaps and bounds, and we have to do things as a school board. And one thing that we have done is write grants, and I want to just highlight our Congresswoman, Lois Franco, who has been working with us, writing grants to get additional funding to help us with mental health. We just received $1 million check, and this was the second big check coming from Congress with the leadership of our Congresswoman, Lois Franco. And I was going to see if Mr. Oswald could just mention that, because I didn't hear that today, and to thank Ms. Solnet for being in Washington, too. With the ESSER funds going away, we really need the funding for mental health and so many other things. So we just need you, legislative delegation, to keep us in mind, because the funding is necessary. Mr. Burke said it, the money, we really need you. Mr. Oswald, I don't know if I have the power to do that, to see if he could say something.
Yes, and I want to be clear that what we went over today is just a small portion of what we do to support students' mental health. So there's a lot more. If you have all day, I'd be happy to go through that, but I don't think you do. But in particular to this grant, in short, it provides to a caring adult. It's called Check-In, Check-Out. It's a research-based intervention where we train adults how to check in with students who are experiencing challenges. So any adult can get trained, and they check in on a regular basis. So depending on how much support that student needs, that could be a daily, weekly, or monthly. So it provides training behind that, the support systems, as well as we're going to work on an app to help making sure that we can monitor that very closely, that we can log the number of students that are being served through this process. But clearly, the number of students who need support, to your point earlier, there's a lot, and everybody has to come together to help support all the students that they have a caring adult. This is to make sure that every single one student has one.
Mrs. Whitfield.
Thank you so much. I do have so much to say, but I'll keep it as short as possible. First, I want to thank Ms. Bellata for putting in the packet, and so you all can see the agenda priorities for the Greater Florida Consortium. This is a group of school boards that is really the southern half of the state of Florida, and so I am the representative for our school board and went to Key Largo to develop these with all of the other board members. So you'll see some slightly different priorities on a different scale, really, that encompass some more of the issues that are covering some urban districts, but really just of the southern districts. So you'll see some there. One of note that came up a lot was the talk about school start times. This is of a great concern for many of the school districts in the state. And so with that change of law, which I have to tell you, I was really excited about because I understand the health of students. I have a 16-year-old. She gets up every day at 5:30 and she works on her schoolwork until after midnight many nights. So they're not getting a lot of sleep. So I love that idea of being able to sleep in longer, but the impact on our buses and our ability to transport students is so very real. So we're looking for some flexibility in how we do that, and flexibility within, if certain schools don't need to be accommodating to this, they don't have to. So I just want to mention that. And then I wanted to give just a little bit of color, if I can, to the VPK conversation. This community, Palm Beach County, has gotten ridiculously difficult to live in. And I say this as a person who makes the same as a teacher, so I have a general idea of what it's like to see that funding come in. My daughter goes, I have a 3-year-old now, and she goes to a little preschool. She's only part-time. It's $1,000 a month. And so when you think about what that costs for me to have the privilege to come hang out with you all here today, so I can send her there so someone can watch her till 2:30, not the whole day, that is a huge part of the budget. And so when we talk about fully funding VPK, I think what we're saying is that, okay, families, we know what you're going through, we know the difficulty that you're going through, and these children are going to do better off if they're in a classroom where they're learning, someone's teaching them the basics. And every kindergarten teacher you talk to will say, when a kid comes in from a quality VPK program, they are more ready to learn. They know how to sit still, raise their hand, go to the bathroom, they understand which direction a book opens, they can recognize numbers and letters. I just got a little report back from the 3-year-old last week showing that she can count to 17. It's really funny to see her go past that. She kind of skips around, but it's a wonderful thing, and they are learning these things. So that is a huge part of, I think, the driving force behind this is that this is community support that's going to make these children ready for school so that we can do the best job we can when they get to us. So I want everyone in a VPK program, I think it's really important. Also, the impact of the finances is really difficult on our families, especially people that are much lower than I am in the economic range. So I know there was some conversations about that, and I just wanted to really emphasize it. Also, just as a side note, since I have you all listening to me, that 16-year-old also driving, and the cost of insurance is insane. So I'm being hit on two sides here. So think about insurance while you're up there too, for our kids, because it's just so much. And then the teacher training and development. I know Representative Gossett-Seidman was talking a little bit about this, and I think when we were at that Greater Consortium meeting, I had a chance to speak with some representatives from Miami-Dade, and they have programs where they go into their community colleges, their state colleges, and if a student doesn't know what they want to be and they're coming out with a degree, they guide them into teaching. They have processes and ability to do that. So you're getting people who are already in there. I also think we need to think about funding scholarships for these people through the state, saying you want to become a teacher, that is going to be a hit on your family financially for the rest of your life. In Palm Beach County and the state of Florida, let's at least make sure they're not coming out with debt, because now you're dealing with school debt in addition to not making a ton of money, and really to be able to encourage people to be a part of that, I think that would be huge. The last thing I really want to mention is the mental health, hugely important. When I got on the board, it was something I could only have dreamed to have a conversation this big about here at this table of such important leaders. The fact that you all care so much about it is honestly the only good thing that came out of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, the fact that we think about this so much. But I do think that we opened Pandora's box, and I think there's no closing it at this point. We put all these people into the schools to find out what the mental health concerns of our children were, and now we found out that they are bigger and wider and deeper than we ever knew. And so with all of these concerns that are out there, and I watch it, like I said, 16-year-old, I see what she goes through, I see what her friends are going through. We have to continue to supply services for these students. We do get a bit of funding from our own community referendum that, thank God, we have, so we can really put people in these places. But all of those community organizations, they're really not finding the employees that they need, but the need is there. There's so much. So I think continuing to think about how we fund those programs is just an absolutely huge thing for this community going forward, and for preventing tragedies like that, to make sure we're catching things before them, because we're catching them, I mean, every day. We are always looking and seeing this. So I just want to thank you all again for listening, caring about your schools, coming to meet with us again. And again, I look forward to seeing you at Palm Beach County Days. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitfield. Vice Chair Brew.
Thank you, and again, my thanks to all of you for listening to us. I'm going to go through my list real quickly. I also made notes on everything. I'll start with, I did thank Representative Gossett-Seidman for her efforts on behalf of caregiving youth. I was a caregiving youth. I grew up with 2 disabled parents. I worked full-time from the time I went into high school. My schools did not know I was a caregiving youth until I showed up for parent-teacher conferences. And I got those funny looks from the other parents that saw me there, but I had to do that for my 2 younger brothers. And so, yes, we don't know the number, because there were many caregiving youth that don't come forward and share that. And it was very difficult. That's one of the reasons why I didn't complete my college education until I was an adult. I got an associate's degree, but I had to go to work. I had to make sure I was making even more money to support my family. And so it wasn't until after I had my children that I got my bachelor's and my master's degree. So it can be done, but we do need to support these students. On the transportation of students, first of all, I applaud this board because we monitor everything. So we get reports on the transportation of students, we get reports on restraints. The one thing that I'm very proud of is we focus on making sure that the students' behavior is not a manifestation of their disability. So, you know, that's something that's very important to those of us that advocate for students with disabilities. And yes, parents, we make every effort to reach the parents immediately with regard to that. But our numbers are improving. I do watch them very closely. Also, with regard to homelessness, our poverty levels are growing in this county. I'm a realtor, so I see it also firsthand every day. When I first became a realtor, I remembered going into some homes where people only had mattresses on the floor for their kids. It's getting worse. We're going to see a huge uptick. We do have a lot of partners also in the community. For example, the National Council for Jewish Women has opened up kids' closets in our Title I schools, our elementary schools, where they have clothing for the students. They are looking to expand. I've been in conversation with them to expand to our middle schools. So we want to grow that program. And also, we have a fabulous partnership with our Education Foundation, who provides backpacks throughout the district with school supplies. They do a wonderful job, but anything we can do for our homeless students, we really appreciate it. Yes, insurance rates, everything, housing costs are really impacting our community. I had on my list the flexibility with House Bill 733. That was the start times. I know Mrs. Whitfield covered that. I will 2 things quickly: invite you to contact the superintendent if you'd like to visit our 2 new schools. They're fabulous. You really need to take the time to take a tour of the schools. And I'll end with our passion that I share with Senator Harrell, which is our students with disabilities, particularly the supports for our students with dyslexia and all our other students. We know that the numbers of students with disabilities continues to grow. 30 years ago, when I became an advocate for students with disabilities in Florida, these students were not in our regular education classrooms. They were not graduating. They were not working. We've come a long way, but we have much further to go. And so I want us to focus on increasing the funding for students with disabilities, for their academic supports and interventions, related services, for transition into the workforce and into independence, and for their special transportation. And thank you again, Senator Harrell, for all that you've done for our students with disabilities, and particularly dyslexia. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bro. Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be quick because I see that we're supposed to wrap up by 11:30. Early education is one of the major points for me that I've advocated for in District 7 and frankly throughout the county in my first year on the dais. Representative Edmonds and Representative Powell, and really any of you also elected officials who have time, we're having a town hall at Bethune Elementary tomorrow at 6 p.m. Regarding early education. So what we do know is that most children who start behind tend to stay behind, and those who start ahead tend to stay ahead. Pretty much any graphic that any staff member at the district will present to you, there's definitely a correlation between children who are prepared in regard to how well they perform at school and those who are not prepared in terms of a lot of the struggles that they have, whether we're talking about getting sucked to the criminal justice system or any other thing that we may be discussing. So I think that it's important, and what I like to see moving forward is that as elected officials that we collaborate on a greater scale. This is great. This is my second time at this event, but I like for us to have a dialogue throughout the year so that you know what we know and we know what you know, so that we can have more of a synergy, if you will, irrespective of political affiliations and things of that nature. We, at the end of the day, should be focused on our children. This is what we're doing this for, should be what we're doing this for, to leave a legacy, build a foundation that they can then build upon. So I think that it's imperative for all of us to keep that as the main thing at all times. So again, if you all have time, I initially made the invitation to my rep and my senator, but obviously if any of you are in Riviera Beach tomorrow, I'd love to have you there to hear about the different organizations that can help make life a little easier for our children and their parents and their family at large. I also want to speak to this business about the voucher program, because at least in this initial inception, it gets two thumbs down for me. It has not been working effectively. I'm hearing about different schools, charter, private, what have you, that are not getting paid, and it's disrupting the educational process for those students. And so I'd ask for whoever supports this voucher program, and I don't know who does at this point in time, to really look at whether this is really in the child's best interest, because hopefully that was the reason, at least I hope that was the reason for it being passed in the first place. But in this first year or so, it has getting an F- in that regard. So we really need to kind of look at that and find out how to more effectively implement this voucher program, or maybe even repeal it back. Because I do believe what Superintendent Burke has said is true, that the school district here in Palm Beach County, and frankly in pretty much every county in Florida, is the best choice. Everybody understands the concept of economies of scale. By us having the amount of money that we have, we can buy more for less. If you break this up into a bunch of little schools, the Ferguson Charter School, the Roth Charter School, the Power Charter School, the McQuinn Charter School, your money is not going as far, which means your child's, most likely their educational experience is not going to be as productive. So just from a business standpoint, I think we need to look at that as far as that goes. That being said, please, whoever are the power brokers in Tallahassee, from the governor on down, kind of take a look at it, because right now it's not benefiting students here in Palm Beach County, and I feel that it's important that I speak out in that regard. Also, one last thing and I'm done. The reason why I think it's important that we collaborate is because, again, we have to take a far view on what we're doing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, and a yearly basis. Ultimately, these children that are being graduated from the district schools or charter schools or private schools, they're competing against persons in countries across this globe. I'm an employer, and I can tell you right now, some of the product that I've seen from those three different sectors are true traditional public schools, are non-traditional public schools, which I identify as charter schools and not private schools. They're not ready to compete. Their interpersonal skills, their writing skills, reading skills, things of that nature are not where they need to be. So we really need to be figuring out what is going on, because conversely, I'm seeing persons who are educated in other areas of the world that are coming with the things that I need to make ends meet, because my clients really don't care where my employees come from. They want to make sure that the job that they hired us to do is getting done, and is getting done in a good fashion. So again, I think we need to make the thing. We need to make sure that this educational system, which the founding fathers said we should have, a public education system, is vibrant, is proactive, and is able to meet the challenges of the 21st century at this point. So I thank you all for coming out here. And again, when you're in Tallahassee, let's not get too stuck on D, R, and I. Let's always be focused on the main thing, which is making Florida as great as it can be for our children and our children's children. I appreciate your time.
Mrs. Andrews, you can be quick.
Yeah, and this is a quickie. I just want to say, as I sit and listen to us here at the table, the delegation as well as the school board, you get it. You get it, and we thank you. And I can't allow you to leave here without saying thank you for having the vision years ago for technology, for having workforce skills, for putting the monies, the appropriations together for West Technical Education Center. And I'd like for you all to walk through, as you heard the superintendent talk about, we're a testing site. Many of our young people now, as well as our community, they're getting jobs. They're able to survive. It's all about being able to know everybody's not going to college. You saw that years ago when we sat here at this table. So when I listen to everybody talking, we're all one sitting in here. When you hear the school board, when I hear you, we're on the right track. And we're willing to take you around to the schools and the community to be with us as we work on these situations together, because it's all about our children and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. I'll follow up and finish up, and then Senator Harrell can take it back if you would. Ms. Ayala, I thought you didn't want to speak. I looked at you. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So really quickly, you all understand it. My asks are stay in communication with us throughout session. I've had several of you call me, text me while you're looking at bills regarding what would impact our district. Please know that we're here to give you full access to the information of what we do. If you want to come to our schools and see what goes on first, in person, firsthand, I've always opened that door for you. I think we have to deal with a lot of things that in theory and in practice are two very different things. So I invite all of you to come and see what it is that our schools do, how our teachers teach, how our students experience the day. That door has always been open. I want to echo the sentiments around a lot of the legislation that was passed last year. The kind of onerous requirements and pressure it's put on our team, not just our employees, but our students, cannot be overstated. So I just ask that you all take a look at when you're seeing bills come through. I understand everybody believes they're doing it what's best, and everybody has their own perspective, and that's the part of the beauty of how we run this country. But I ask that you consider asking us who deal with this every day firsthand how it's going to impact our students and our teachers. I want to highlight our media specialists. All this mess around the libraries and the books, and at the end of the day, 0 books have been banned in this district. So our team reviewed nearly 3 million books over the summer, which took more money to pay them, more time of them doing work that has nothing to do with children's educational achievement or outcomes. So I want you all to just keep that stuff in mind. We're putting additional requirements on our employees. They're already sitting in trainings 80% of their time. They're having to do additional work that at the end of the day has nothing to do with the students' educational achievement or outcomes. And I understand everybody wants access, and parents have access. We're giving you an open pass to anything going on in our schools. Go to your school, talk to your principal. We have never denied a parent information surrounding their students' education. So I just ask that we take a look, and I'm looking forward to collaborating to the deregulation list that's been asked of, because our district has had a lot of regulation placed on top of it, and all it does is slow down processes to help children. So I wanted to say that general sentiment. I appreciate a lot of the initiatives you're all putting out there. Mental health scholarships, teacher pay, raising that up. Representative Edmonds, thank you for bringing that back, and Senator Berman. Things around growing our own and support for those programs, we're very focused on that. So thank you for the great ideas around that, and however we can be of help, please let us know. And finally, one thing I want to put out there just to put in your brains, it's not on our official priorities that we're going to be sharing with you when we go up to Palm Beach County Day, and I'm looking forward to joining this year. But I wanted to just put in your head that a lot of our students come here in Palm Beach County, come to this country not speaking English as a first language, and are coming to this country increasingly so, escaping very challenging and untenable situations in their home countries. And that's particularly true here in District 2, which I represent. So I visit students all the time, and it's the best part of my job is to spend time with them. So when I do that and I speak to students that are in our district schools, a big thing that comes up is I'm not stupid. I understand the material, but I can't pass these tests or the state test because I don't speak English. So I just ask you to think through how there are possibilities to work through meeting students where they are. And that is a DOE function, but just throwing it out there for consideration as we try to serve students where they are, we need to be meeting them where they are. And that could mean changing the way that we test. I don't want students who come here at 16 escaping violence and horrible situations in their country, not being able to graduate 2 years later and not being able to pursue their careers and their futures because of a test that if it were in their home language, they could easily pass. So I did want to put that out there just for thought. Again, it's not on our official priorities, but it's something I look forward to discussing in deeper detail with you all during Palm Beach County Day. And thank you all for the advocacy you do on behalf of Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Mrs. Whitfield, brief, please.
Thank you. This is not hugely important, but I just wanted to follow up on Board Member Ayala's comment about all of the paperwork. Last week, I had an opportunity to host an Ethical Governance Day, which you all are absolutely welcome to come anytime we do them in our schools. It's an opportunity to talk to the students. And one of the students raised their hand and they said to me, you know that everyone has in their backpack a folder filled with those parent permission forms to participate in clubs. It has become just an unbelievably onerous situation for the students and the teachers. And so when you think through something like that, asking for that permission, all it's done is hinder kids from participating in clubs. It's made it so that, if you want to be, in chorus, you got to go get a signature from your parents saying you're allowed to be in it, and then the kid doesn't bring it in. My daughter said to me, I'm not even allowed to go into the commons area because you have to get permission to go in there. And I said, well, give me the form. And she's like, ugh. And I can't even get her to hand it to me so I can sign it. So we're working through some ways to make it easier here at the school district to get through those processes. But I want you to think as you go into session about the difficulty that when you add another step, another requirement, something else for a teacher to handle and do, really what ends up happening is you have children that just are not participating because they can't get their parents to sign off on it. Thank you so much, Mr. Barbieri.
All right, I'll finish up and then turn it back over to Chair Harrell. One of the good things about our school district is the fact that this board is a cohesive board. So rather than reiterating anything anybody said, I'll tell you all that I agree, because I've got 6 great colleagues on this board that, and we work together, which is totally different from if you watch some of the board meetings around the state and you see the craziness that goes on. We all respect each other. Sometimes we differ in our views, but we respect each other and we get along well and we make good decisions for the children in this district. There's only one thing that they didn't cover that, is kind of a side issue that I can tell you. People ask me, I've been on the board for over 15 years, what is the most difficult action a school board member has to take? And I'll tell you that the most difficult action is expelling a student, because we ruin a student's life when we expel them. The taser issue I brought up the taser issue. There was a little bit of disagreement on the board, but we agreed that we wanted to put that on our legislative priority list. I'm not suggesting for a minute, I've been ridiculed by people in the media about wanting to put more weapons in the schools. I made it absolutely clear when I was interviewed by WPTV that I'm not suggesting for a minute that children should be able to bring tasers to the school. Certainly if a child brings a taser to school and uses it, they should be expelled. It's a weapon and they use it on somebody. But your definition in your state statute that says it's a deadly weapon when it's a $15 taser that, a kid could bring brass knuckles to school and break somebody's jaw, and that's not considered a deadly weapon, but a taser is a deadly weapon. All I'm asking you to do is redefine what a taser is. If you have to break down the difference between a taser that our police officers carry, which could be deadly weapons, as opposed to little things, because we have parents that come into our closed sessions, and when we expel these kids, sometimes the parents cry. We had a girl that carries it because she is in a bad neighborhood when she gets off the bus, and her parents bought it for her, so that these guys that make these nasty comments to her when she walks through an industrial area, she has that in her hand in case they approach her. We had to expel her, and it's a third-degree felony. we've ruined that child's life. She was an A student, but that's forever going to be on her transcript, so you know what's going to happen when she applies to college. So they got the A list and they got the D list, and she's over here because she was expelled in high school for having a weapon. So please take a look at that and see what you can do to fix that problem for us. It should be up to the superintendent to decide on what type of discipline should be handed out to students that do something like that, rather than an automatic expulsion where his hands are tied. The best he can do is not have them expelled for the full year, but they're still showing as an expulsion on their record. And with that said, I'll turn it back over to Chair here.
Thank you very much, and we do have just a few more minutes, and I did see Representative Caruso come in, so I will recognize him to perhaps make a few comments, give us your district, and if you have maybe one or two questions, so everybody else has had a chance to ask any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm State Representative Mike Caruso from House District 87, which runs from Manalapan all the way up to Jupiter, and as you move north, it works its way out to the Turnpike. Served in the Florida House. This is my 6th year, sorry I was late. I woke up with a migraine headache, and I don't think I've had one of those since I took the CPA exam in 1980. So yeah, I was just out of commission there. But I'm excited to be here. I did want to give a shout out to Chair Barbieri. I've known Chair Barbieri for 30 years, and I want to thank him for his zillion years of service on the school board, and commend him for all of his good work. One thing I know about the chairman is kids come first. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Senator.
Thank you, and I'll recognize any of our senators for 1 minute to make a closing comment. Representative, did you want to make a closing comment? No.
Okay.
Senator Berman.
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple things, and I was going to acknowledge Chair Barbieri. I think there's 3 school board members who might not be back here next year. I've been working with some of you for 14 years, and it's been a real pleasure, and I think we all have the same common goal, and that is making sure that our kids succeed. So I really appreciate that opportunity. And the last comment I want to make is I have a bill. We have not filed it yet. We are working on it, and I would like you all to consider supporting it, and that is to have free lunches in every public school and free breakfast for every child in public school in the entire state of Florida. So we will be filing that this year, and hopefully you all can support that also.
Thank you.
Can I just share real quick? Because fortunately in Palm Beach County, we have that, thanks to a federal community eligibility program, but it's not statewide, but it's been great for us, and the participation has gone up, and it removes the stigma about taking a free meal, so thank you for that.
Sure.
Senator Polsky, did you have any closing comments?
Well, my colleagues beat me to the punch. I did want to acknowledge, at least I know Chair Barbieri is retiring after this year, and by the time we meet next year, depending on the date, he might not be with us. So I wanted to thank you for your years of service. The whole time that I've been representing Boca, you've been our school board chair, and or on the school board and our school board chair. So I really appreciate our relationship, and we'll miss you very much, and thank you for your years of service.
Thank you. Representative Waldron, did you want to make a closing comment?
Sure. Yes, I would like to reiterate what the 2 senators have said. Looking forward to continuing to work with everybody on the school board in the coming session, and I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you guys with some of the bills that are coming up that we don't know about. But I'd also like to thank the 3 of you that will not be coming back for your years of service. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Casella.
Thank you, Chair. Real quick, when I first came here to Palm Beach County in '09, there was a lot of turmoil in the school system here. We went through about 3 or maybe even 4 commissioners, or superintendents rather, and under your leadership, Superintendent Burke and this this working school board, it's been fabulous, that things you've accomplished together without the infighting that went on in past years. So I commend you for being the quarterback of this great team, and I look forward to helping you all we can up there in the next upcoming legislative session. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative, well, we're going to skip Caruso because he had his moment. Thank you. Gossett-Seidman.
Thank you, Senator. Just like to extend my thanks to everyone. This is my second year, first full term, and I appreciate everyone's camaraderie and greatly. Thank you.
Senator Powell. No comments. Senator Skidmore.
Oh, thank you.
Pardon me, Representative
Thank you,
Skidmore.
Madam Chair. I also want to thank Chair Barbieri. We've known each other a long time, and we've been in the trenches together. Appreciate the magnificent work you've done on the school board since you've been here. This is one of my favorite meetings of all the delegation meetings that we have because it feels like it's the most productive. I want to mention one issue that we didn't talk about, which is absenteeism. And as you know or may not know, that one of the reasons why girls might be absent is because they don't have access to period products. And the legislation that Senator Book and I passed last year allows for the school districts to provide those products, expands the products that can be provided as well. And so I'm hopeful that we will continue to work toward that to make sure that our girls aren't considered second to our boys and not have the same kinds of resources that they need to be able to stay in school. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Representative Roth.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to make a closing remark. Thank you to the school board. I want to remind everybody I am a farmer, and farmers like Democrats, or at least they have traditionally. And I was able to work very closely with several county commissioners for the Ag Reserve Project. We were able to turn that down, so I just want to reach out to everybody here on the school board, and my door is open. I've already accepted Mr. Ferguson's invitation to have a dialogue, and I'm really looking forward to working across the aisles and getting things done. So thank you for this good meeting today, and thank you, Superintendent Burke.
Well, I also would like to comment and thank you to the school board and to Superintendent Burke for this presentation. It's always informative, and we so appreciate it. Many years ago, I was a former teacher. I don't want to tell you how many years ago. Life moves on, and you move out. We could move on to other things and wound up in healthcare instead. But I can tell you, for me, one of the most important things we have done over the last few years, and probably the emphasis came because of Parkland, was the great advances we're making in mental health in our schools. And this has been an initiative I've been involved in the legislature for 20 years to really make sure that we are taking care of the mental health side of health as well as the physical side of health. So it's an initiative I've been involved in, and I'm delighted to hear what you all are doing. I want to make sure that continues, and that the dollars we are putting into mental health through our Safe Schools initiative is being used, and we get the therapy down to the students. We need to do more than just identify problems. We need to make sure we have treatment there that is ongoing. So I'm happy to work with the school board, make sure the school district, make sure that we have that the availability of funds, and then it's used to address the issue. Another issue I've been very concerned about is growing teachers. We have a bill, we may reconsider filing it this year and really looking at it, and I would like to work very much with you all as to how we can best craft that. We were going to do a pilot program in 5 counties, and I was hoping, of course, you would be the large county for it. But we will consider refiling that bill and working with you to work with our state colleges. They're the key to creating teachers. So if we can work a system whereby there is some payback. Eventually, they have teachers who get their degrees, then have a commitment to the school district to work with you for a certain number of years. We can work on the details, but I'm very interested in continuing to work on that issue. And then when we look at where we're going in pre-education, that is another key arena that I have worked on for many, many years and will continue to work on, whether it is making sure that we have the VPK that is good, quality VPK, or even the daycare situation. This is absolutely key. So I look forward to working with you on ideas in that arena. And the door is always open. We don't have much time. We're going to close here in 1 minute. But I do want to say each one of us on this delegation is committed to the education of our youth. And our children are our future. We all know that. And we're committed to that. And we want to work with you to make sure that we provide the very best quality education and future for our children. With that, any closing comments over here?
Chair Harrell and I would like the superintendent to go ahead and close out the meeting. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, I would just like to thank the delegation for your attention and ongoing support. You know, I've been with school district for over 25 years. I'm really proud and honored to be able to serve now as superintendent. We refer to our whole district as Team Palm Beach. That starts with the school board. My job has been, I've been able to be successful because of the support of our school board, and it extends all the way out to our nearly 13,000 teachers in the classroom. That's what really makes us a great district, and we'll be sure to pop in and see you all in Tallahassee. And again, you know, if whatever you may hear, whatever noise is out there about public education, I would extend also Ms. Ayala's invitation to please come and join us, because I can tell you my best days are spent in our schools, and I think when you come into our classrooms and you see the teachers doing what you expect, teaching kids, and the kids are excited to be learning, there's a lot of great things happening in our schools, and I think sometimes that gets lost in all the noise that's out there just buzzing around. So again, proud to be here, and thanks for your support, and we'll keep this dialogue going. So, thank you.
Nice. And with that, we are adjourned.
Hey. 5 minutes early.